Novak Djokovic claims 10th Australian Open title, 22nd Slam. Melbourne, Australia. AP, Novak Djokovic climbed into the Rod Laver Arena stands to celebrate his 10th Australian Open championship and record-tying 22nd Grand Slam title Sunday and, after jumping and pumping his fists with his team, he collapsed onto his back, crying. When he returned to the playing surface, Djokovic sat on his sideline bench, buried his face in a white towel and sobbed some more. This trip to Australia was far more successful than that of a year ago, when he was deported because he was not vaccinated against COVID-19, although difficult in its own ways, a bad hamstring, some off-court tumult involving his father. Yet Djokovic accomplished all he could have possibly wanted in his return. He resumed his winning ways at Melbourne Park and made it back to the top of tennis, declaring, "This probably is the, I would say, biggest victory of my life." Only briefly challenged in the final, Djokovic was simply better at the most crucial moments and beat Stefanos Tsitsipas 6-3, 7-6, 4, 7-6, 5. As a bonus, Djokovic will vault from no. 5 to no. 1 in the ATP rankings, a spot he already has held for more weeks than any other man. This has been one of the most challenging tournaments I've ever played in my life, considering the circumstances. Not playing last year, coming back this year, Djokovic said, wearing a zip-up white jacket with a 22 on his chest. And I want to thank all the people that made me feel welcome, made me feel comfortable, to be in Melbourne, to be in Australia. The 35-year-old from Serbia stretched his unbeaten streak in Melbourne to 28 matches, the longest run there in the Open era, which dates to 1968. He adds trophy no. 10 to the 7 from Wimbledon, 3 from the US Open, where he also was absent last year because of no coronavirus shots, and 2 from the French Open, to match rival Rafael Nadal for the most by a man. Only 2 women, Margaret Court, with 24, and Serena Williams, with 23, are ahead of him. This was also the 93rd ATP Tour level title for Djokovic, breaking a tie with Nadal for the 4th most. "I would like to thank you for pushing our sport so far," Tsitsipas told Djokovic. "He is the greatest," Tsitsipas said, "that has ever held a tennis racket." Djokovic was participating in his 33rd major final, Tsitsipas in his second, and the 24-year-old from Greece also lost the other, at the 2021 French Open, to Djokovic. On a cool evening under a cloud-filled sky, and with a soundtrack of chants from supporters of both men prompting repeated pleas for quiet from the chair umpire, Djokovic was superior throughout, especially so in the 2 tiebreakers. He took a 4-1 lead in the first, then reeled off the last 3 points. He led 5-0 in the closing tiebreaker and, when it finished, he pointed to his temple before screaming, a prelude to all of the tears. "Very emotional for us. Very emotional for him," said Djokovic's coach, Joran Ivanišević. "It's a great achievement. It was a really tough 3 weeks for him. He managed to overcome everything." Djokovic acknowledged all of the issues created strain for him. "It took an enormous amount of mental and emotional energy," Djokovic said, "to really keep it tight, keep my focus. Keep in mind, it's not as though Tsitsipas played all that poorly, other than a rash of early miscues that seemed to be more a product of tension than anything. It's that Djokovic was too unyielding. Too accurate with his strokes, making merely 22 unforced errors, 20 fewer than his foe. Too speedy and flexible on the run, other than when, moving to his left, Djokovic took a tumble. I did everything possible," said Tsitsipas, who also would have moved to no. 1 with a victory, replacing Carlos Alcaraz, who sat out the Australian Open with a leg injury. Perhaps. Yet Djokovic pushes and pushes and pushes some more, until it's the opponent who is something less than perfect on one swing, either missing or providing an opening to pounce. That's what happened when Tsitsipas held his first break point, which was also a set point, while ahead 5-4 in the second and Djokovic serving at 30-40. Might this be a fulcrum? Might Djokovic relent? Might Tsitsipas surge? No. A 15-stroke point concluded with Djokovic smacking a cross-court forehand winner that felt like a statement. 2 misses by Tsitsipas followed, a backhand long, a forehand wide. Those felt like capitulation. Even when Tsitsipas actually did break in the third, Djokovic broke right back. There has been more than forehands and backhands on Djokovic's mind over the past 2 weeks. There was the sore left hamstring that has been heavily bandaged for every match, until the final, that is, when only a single piece of beige athletic tape was visible.